Hello friends, I am Sanjay Roda from New Delhi, India. Today I will demystify the concepts of culpable homicide, murder and homicide by negligence. Chapter 16 of the Indian Penal Code 1860, in short called the IPC, deals with the offences affecting the human body. Culpable homicide, also known as manslaughter under the English law, is dealt with under sections 299, 301 and 304 of the IPC. The first offence against the human life is that of culpable homicide. The word culpable means punishable, and the word homicide comes from the Latin language. Homa means man and side, C-I-D-E. Side means I cut. Thus, culpable homicide is the killing of a human being by a human being. Sections 45 and 46 of the IPC define the terms life and death respectively, as meaning the life and death of a human being. The causing of the death of an animal is not murder, but it may amount to mischief under section 428 or 429 of the IPC, or to cruelty to animals under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. There are two kinds of homicide: first, lawful homicide; second, unlawful homicide. Lawful homicide includes the cases falling under the general exceptions from section 76 to 106 of the IPC. For instance, if death is caused by accident under section 80 of the IPC. For instance, if death is caused due to the self-defense of the body under section 100 of the IPC. For instance, if death is caused due to self-defense of the property under section 103 of the IPC. Unlawful homicide is dealt with under sections from sections 299 to 318 of the IPC, which are broadly categorized into four categories. First, section 299, culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Second, section 300, murder. Third, section 304A, rash or negligent homicide. Fourth, sections 305 and 306 which pertain to suicide. There is no radical difference between culpable homicide and murder. The causing of the death is common to both the cases. There must necessarily be criminal intention or knowledge in both the cases. In murder, there is greater intention or knowledge than in culpable homicide. The difference of degree is accentuated. The difference of degree in murder is accentuated by the four clauses defining the offence under section 300, which defines murder. Culpable homicide is used as a generic. Culpable homicide may amount to murder, or culpable homicide may not amount to murder. An offence cannot amount to murder unless it falls within a definition of culpable homicide, but it may amount to culpable homicide without amounting to murder. It is culpable homicide where death must have been known to be a probable result. It is murder where death must have been known to be the most probable result. Culpable homicide is a less serious offence than murder. Culpable homicide is punishable with life imprisonment, whereas murder is punishable with death or life imprisonment. Section 299 of the Indian Penal Code defines culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Section 299 of the IPC states, whoever causes the death by doing an act with the intention of causing death or such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, or with knowledge that he is likely by such act to cause death, commits culpable homicide. There are three illustrations appended to section 299 of the IPC. First illustration: A lays sticks and turf over a pit with the intention of or knowing it to be likely to cause death. Z, believing the ground to be firm, treads on it, falls in and is killed. A has committed the offence of culpable homicide. You may ask, why is A not guilty of murder? A had the intention to kill Z, but the knowledge that his act is likely to cause death makes all the difference. If there is likelihood to cause death, the offence can be reduced to culpable homicide not amounting to murder. If A was certain that it would have caused death, A would have been guilty of murder. Second illustration, A knows Z to be behind a bush. B does not know it. A with the intention to kill Z, or knowing it to be likely to cause Z's death, induces B to fire at the bush. B fires and kills Z. Here B may be guilty of no offense, but A is guilty of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Here too, the likelihood to cause death can reduce the offense to culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Third illustration, A by shooting at a bird to kill and steal it kills Z, who is behind a bush. A not knowing that Z was there. It is right here that A is doing an unlawful activity, but he is not guilty of culpable homicide. He is not guilty, but he is not guilty of culpable homicide because A does not intend to kill Z. His primary motive was to steal. So at the most he can be convicted under section. He can be convicted of theft under section 380 of the IPC. Take another instance. A intending to kidnap B's child with a view to extorting money from B takes away the child from its bedroom. As A takes the child down, the ladder breaks, which he has placed against the bedroom window. Now the child is thrown down violently and is killed. Here at the most, A can be convicted of extortion and kidnapping, but not culpable homicide not amounting to murder, because it was not his intention. Because it was not his intention to kill. His primary intention was to kidnapping and extortion. In the case of Emperor versus Chaturnath, year 1919, 21 volume 21, Bombay Law Reporter, page number 1101. In the course of quarrel in a dark night, the accused aimed a blow at the complainant. To ward off the blow, the complainant's wife intervened between them, and the blow missed its aim. The complainant's wife had a child on her arm, and the blow fell on the head of the child, causing severe injuries, due to the effects of which the child died. Here the accused was convicted under. Here the accused was convicted of grievous hurt, but on appeal it was held that in as much as if the blow had reached complainant, it would have caused simple hurt only. There are three explanations appended to section 299 of the IPC. First explanation: if a person causes bodily injury to another, who is laboring under a disorder, disease or bodily infirmity, he would be deemed to have caused the death if that accelerates the death of the victim. Here the accused must have known the victim's condition, and it also holds good that the victim's death is certain, but the accused has knowingly accelerated it. Second explanation: if the death is caused by bodily injury, the person who causes the bodily injury is deemed to have caused his death, but irrespective of the fact that resorting to proper remedies and skillful treatment, the death might have been prevented. The miscreant here cannot say that, okay, I caused the injuries to the deceased. He could have gone to the skilled doctor. He could have dressed his wound properly. Had he done so, he would not have died. This defense is untenable by virtue of this explanation under section 299 of the IPC. Third explanation: the causing of the death of a child in mother's womb is not homicide. It may amount to culpable homicide not amounting to murder if any part of the child has been brought forth, but the child may not have breathed or been completely born. Under section 10 under section 10 of the IPC, section 10 of the IPC defines man and woman. Man denotes a male human being of any age, and woman denotes a female human being of any age. The life of the child, while it remains with the mother's womb, is a part of mother's life, and which is not yet separate and distinct existence of that child. The English law on this point is different. Under the English law, the child should have completely merged out of the mother's womb, but in culpable homicide under section 299, it is sufficient if any part of the child, say the finger of the child, has been brought forth. Section 299 of the Indian Penal Code is not exhaustive. It has to be read with the clauses of section 300 of the IPC. If there is knowledge and intention, both are there, the offence may or may not amount to culpable homicide. But if there is something less than knowledge of the likelihood of the act causing death, it would amount to culpable negligence, but it will not be homicide. To prove culpable homicide not amounting to murder, three factors must be proved before the court of law. First factor is the death of the person in question, and second factor is such death must have been caused by the act of the accused. There should be no intervening factors causing the death of the aggrieved party. Section 32 of the IPC defines acts which include illegal omissions, and illegal is applicable to everything that is an offence that is prohibited by law, or that furnishes a ground for civil action. Third factor is that the accused by such act intended to cause his death, or likely to cause bodily injury which is likely to cause death, or he by such act knew that by doing such act his act is likely to cause death. The connection between the act and death caused should be direct and distinct. It should be not too immediate, but it should not be too remote. Too. Now we proceed. We will broach section 301 of the IPC, because the doctrine of transcendent malice, or the doctrine of transmigration of malice, is embodied under section 301 of the IPC. But before I rhapsodize over this thing, first we should have to know what an act is. It is a well-established principle of criminal law. That no act is intended unless all the three aspects of the act are intended. The act is made up of three factors. The act is made up of the following three factors. First factor is its origin in a mentally or bodily activity. Second, its circumstances. And the third, its consequences. The act of shooting involves all these three factors. First factor, its origin. There should be something physically to do something, or omission to do something. Second factor, its circumstances. The person is in the range of the revolver, and the revolver is loaded. Third factor is its consequences. The trigger falls, the bullet is discharged, and the bullet enters the body of the victim. Where a law prohibits an act, it prohibits the act in respect of its origin, its circumstances, and its consequences. These consequences, these circumstances and consequences are numerous, and what are relevant and what are irrelevant, it is the function of the legislature, and which often constitutes the wrongful act. Suppose, for instance, in the case of the offense of theft, the time is irrelevant. But in the case of the offense of housebreaking, the time during which the housebreaking is committed is relevant for assessing the magnitude of the liability of the offender. There is an exception of this rule, that is known as the doctrine of transferred malice. The doctrine means that causing another's death by mistake. For instance, X intends to kill Z, but X, in his attempt to kill Z, kills Y. Now, X cannot say that I intended to kill Z, but I never meant to kill Y, so I should be excused. No, there is no the difference of persons is of no relevance here, and the crime consists in the willful doing of a prohibited act. Now, Section 301 lays down. Section 301 states that if a person, by doing anything which he intends or knows to be likely to cause, commits culpable homicide by causing the death of another person, whose death he neither intended nor knew himself to cause death. Here, culpable homicide committed by the offender is of the description of which it would have been if he had caused the death of the person whose death he intended or knew to be likely to cause. This is the concept of transferred malice, because the general intention to kill is transferred to the intention of killing this particular individual. That's why it is known as the doctrine of transferred malice, or the transmigration of malice. Now, Section 304. Section 304 provides punishment for culpable homicide not amounting to murder. There are two kinds of punishment under Section 304 applicable to two different circumstances. Part 1. If the act by which death is caused or such bodily injury if the act by which death is caused is done with the intention of causing death, or such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, the punishment is imprisonment for life or imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and fine. Part 2. If the act is done with the knowledge that it is likely to cause death, but without the intention to cause death or such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, the punishment is imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years, or with fine, or with both. So, Sections 299, Section 301 and Section 304 deal with the offense of culpable homicide. Now, murder. Section 300 defines murder. Section 300 of the IPC lays down that the offense of culpable homicide becomes murder if the offense of culpable homicide is committed in any of the following four circumstances. Circumstance 1. If the act by which the death is caused is done with the intention of causing death. For instance, A shoots Z with the intention of killing him, and Z dies in consequence. Here, A has committed the offense of murder. because the first clause of section 299 and the first clause of section 300 are the same. If any act falls under the first clause of section 299 and first clause of section 300, it would amount to murder. That's why the first clause of section 299 is called the non-applicable clause. Second circumstances. If death is caused with the intention of causing bodily injury, which the offender knows to be likely to cause death death of the person to whom harm is caused. Suppose A knowing that Z is laboring under a disease and a blow is likely to cause his death. The blow is accorded to the victim and due to which he dies. Here the accused has committed the offence of murder. Third circumstance, if death is caused with the intention of causing bodily injury to any person, and that bodily injury intended to be inflicted is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death, it would amount to murder. For instance, X intentionally gives a sword cut or a club wound to the person to cause the death which is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature. Here A has committed death. He has committed murder, although he may not have intended to cause the death of the victim. Fourth circumstance, if the person causing an act knows that act is so imminently dangerous that it would in all probability cause death or cause such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, he is deemed to have caused murder. For instance, if an accused without any excuse fires a loaded cannon into a crowd of persons and a particular individual is killed, here the accused has caused murder, although he may not have had a premeditated design to kill any particular individual. Section 300 lays down 5 circumstances or 5 exceptions of murder which reduce the offence of murder to the offence of culpable homicide not amounting to murder. These 5 different circumstances are not defenses, but these 5 different circumstances are mitigating circumstances to be proved by the accused in the court before the court of law. These 5 different circumstances which are reduced from murder to the offence of culpable homicide not amounting to murder are: first, sudden and grave provocation; second, right of private defence; third, any public servant exceeding his powers; fourth, sudden fight; or fifth, consent. We would broach in detail about these 5 different circumstances. So, the first exception: the culpable homicide is not murder if, as a result of sudden and grave provocation, the offender loses its self-control and causes the death of the person who gives him the provocation, or causes the death of any other person by mistake or by accident. Exception 1 itself has 3 exceptions in the form of 3 provisos. First exception proviso 1: it is no provocation if it is sought voluntarily. Proviso 2: it is no provocation if it is done in obedience to law, or if it is done by a public servant in his lawful exercise of his powers. For instance, Z is lawfully arrested by a bailiff. Z is moved to sudden and violent passion due to this arrest, and he kills Z. and he kills Z here, and he kills A, the bailiff. He kills A, the bailiff. Here Z has caused murder because the provocation was given by a thing done by a public servant in the lawful exercise of his powers. Proviso 3. No act is deemed to be provocation if it is done in the exercise of right of private defense. For instance, A attempts to pull Z's nose. Z, in the exercise of his right of private defense, lays hold of A to prevent him from doing so, and A is moved to sudden and grave provocation, and he kills. Here it is no because it is a murder because the provocation was given by a thing done in the exercise of the right of private defense. Exception 2 says that a culpable homicide is not murder where the private defense exceeds the power given by the right of private defense and causes the death of any other person against whom the right of self defense is being exercised, and with this intention not to cause more harm to that person. For instance, Z attempts to horsewhip A. Not in such a manner to cause grievous hurt to A. Here, Z, because he doesn't have no other means, Z in good faith believes that A would not be prevented, so he kills. A. Here, the provocation was here the right of private defense was used, so it is culpable homicide, not murder. Exception 3. Third exception says that culpable homicide is not murder if it is done by a public servant or any person aiding the public servant due to this belief that this power is given by law and without any ill will. Exception 4 provides that culpable homicide is not murder. Culpable homicide is not murder if the offender causes the offense without any premeditation in a fight in the heat of passion upon the quarrel. There is an explanation of this. There is an explanation appended to this exception, which says that it is immaterial in this case which party offers provocation or causes the first assault. Exception 5. Fifth exception says that a person who is above 18 years of age suffers death or takes the risk of death, it would amount to culpable homicide and not murder. For instance, A by instigation voluntarily causes Z, who is under 18 years of age, to commit suicide. Here, on account of the youth, the aggrieved party commits suicide. The accused can be said to have abetted murder. These are the 5 exceptions of Section 300 of the IPC. The provision of the punishment is provided under Section 302. The Section 302 provides whoever causes murder shall be punished with death or life imprisonment and shall also be liable to fine. In India nowadays, death capital punishment or death sentence is provided in the rarest of the rare case. In the case of Shankar vs. State of Tamil Nadu, 1994 Criminal Law Journal, page number 3017, Supreme Court, the Supreme Court observed that it cannot be said that the crime itself will not be eradicated. It doesn't mean that miscreants cannot be hanged though warranted by law, because there is legality of capital punishment in India. The Supreme Court has observed in no uncertain terms that Section 302 is not violative of Article 14, Article 19 and Article 21 of the Constitution. And there is a desirability of capital punishment in India. Like the Law Commission in 1967 is of the opinion that India should not experiment with the abolition of capital punishment because the law and order situation has deteriorated over the years and is fast worsening. So it is in the interest of social purpose, and the offence under Section 302, the mode of execution of the punishment is not degrading, cruel or barbarous. So I have defined the concept of culpable homicide and murder. Now Section 304A, which states whoever causes the death of any person by doing rash or negligent act not amounting to culpable homicide shall be punished with the sentence which may extend to 2 years or with fine or both. Here Section 304A defines homicide by negligence. If a death is caused due to intention, Section 304 will not be applicable. If there is any knowledge of the act which causes death, Section 304A has no application. And if there has been a voluntary commission of any offence, Section 304A will not be applicable, because negligence means a breach of duty, lack of due care, and the actor has not exercised the caution properly. There is a difference between rashness and negligence. Rashness, under English law, rashness means recklessness, and it is a graver offence. Rashness is a graver offence than negligence. The doctrine of contributory negligence doesn't apply in criminal law. It means that if the death of any person is caused partly by the negligence of the accused and partly by the negligence of the victim, the accused can't say that the victim was negligent. He could have been saved. And there is a Latin maxim, res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself. This Latin maxim, res ipsa loquitur, applies to the law of torts, but it has no application under Section 304A and under the criminal law. Now, in the case of Cherubin Gregory versus State of Bihar, AI 1964, Supreme Court, page number 205, there is a very beautiful case of under Section 304A. X sets live electric naked wire in the passage of his loo, so that no trespasser could come and use his loo. But Y manages to pass into the loo, but while coming out, Y, her hand touched a live wire, and due to the shock, she died. The ingredients of culpable homicide not amounting to murder are not met in these facts of this case. So these are the three concepts I have made you understand in a very lucid manner. Now please like, share, comment and subscribe my channel. Happy learning. Break a leg. Thanks.